Mrs. Carter, can you hear me? The voice was distant, like it was coming from underwater. I forced my heavy eyelids open. The fluorescent lights above me blurred into a painful white halo. Water, I croaked. My throat felt like it was filled with broken glass. A cool straw touched my lips. Sip slowly, Elara, just a little. It was the night nurse. Her face was kind, but her eyes held a pity I hated. I pulled away, gasping for air. Did anyone come? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Leon? My parents? The nurse hesitated. She checked the foredrip, avoiding my gaze. I called your husband again, honey. And? It went to voicemail, she admitted softly. I heard music in the background before the call cut off. I let out a dry, bitter laugh that turned into a coughing fit. Music, of course. Rest now, Elara. Don't upset yourself. They're at the Starlight Hotel, I whispered, tears leaking from the corners of my eyes. It's Bella's 24th birthday. My sister is blowing out candles while I'm taking my last breath. I'm so sorry, the nurse said, her hand squeezing mine. Is there anyone else I can call? No, I said, staring at the ceiling. There is no one else. I gave them everything. My money, my health, my designs. I worked myself into this grave for them. The beeping of the monitor slowed down. Beep, beep. It's not fair, I hissed, a sudden surge of rage burning through the coldness in my limbs. I don't want to die like this. Not while they celebrate. Elara, look at me, the nurse said urgently. I hate them, I choked out, my vision going black. If there is a God, let me fix this. Let me make them pay. The darkness swallowed me whole. The beeping stopped. No, I shot up in bed, gasping, my chest heaving. My hands clawed at my throat, searching for the feeling of suffocation, but there was nothing. No pain, no tubes. What? I whispered, looking around wildly. Sunlight streamed through the window, my window. The window of my childhood bedroom. This isn't the hospital, I said aloud, my voice trembling. I looked down at my hands. They weren't skeletal and pale. They were smooth, healthy. I grabbed the phone sitting on the nightstand. My fingers shook as I pressed the home button. June 12, 2019. 2019? I dropped the phone on the duvet. That's 5 years ago. I scrambled out of bed and ran to the mirror. The face staring back at me was young. The dark circles under my eyes were gone. The sickness was gone. I'm alive, I breathed, touching my reflection. I'm 22. I heard laughter coming from downstairs. It was Bella's voice. My shock instantly turned into ice. They have no idea, I whispered to the girl in the mirror, my eyes hardening. They think they still own me. But the Elara who died for them is gone. I clenched my fists, feeling the strength in my body. This time, I vowed, I won't be the victim. This time, I'm the villain. My heart hammered against my ribs, but not from fear. It was adrenaline. I walked down the stairs, the scent of burnt toast and expensive perfume hitting me, the smell of a morning in the Carter household. Elara, finally, my mother, Susan, said without looking up from her phone. She was sitting at the head of the table, scrolling. Did the direct deposit hit your account? Bella's agency meets the workshop fees by noon. Bella was sitting across from her, inspecting her manicured nails. Yeah, and I need that new dress for the callback. It's only $500. I can't wear the same thing twice, Elara. It's social suicide. Only $500, I repeated, walking to the coffee pot. My hands were steady as I poured a cup. So you want my entire paycheck? Again? Susan scoffed, finally looking at me. Don't be dramatic. We're a family. We help each other. Your sister is on the verge of her big break. Now, transfer it. In my past life, I would have pulled out my phone instantly. I would have apologized for being late. I would have starved for a week just to see them smile. No, I said. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. The air conditioner hummed, sounding like a roar in the quiet room. Susan blinked, her brow furrowing. Excuse me? I said no, I said, turning to face them. I'm not transferring the money. I have bills to pay. Bella let out a sharp, theatrical gasp. Mom, she's joking, right? I need those headshots. If I miss this deadline, my career is over. Elara, stop playing games, Susan snapped, her voice sharpening into that tone that used to make me cower. Your sister has potential. You have a steady job. You don't need all that cash sitting in a bank account. Don't be greedy. I worked 80 hours for that check, I said, my voice cool and detached. It stays with me. Bang. My father Robert slammed his hand on the table. The silverware rattled. Since when do you talk back to your mother like that? Since I realized I'm the only one funding this house, I shot back, meeting his glare. Robert stood up, his face reddening. You ungrateful brat, we raised you. We put a roof over your head. And I've paid for that roof 3 times over, I replied. I'm not an investment portfolio. I am your daughter. Or at least, I thought I was. Bella burst into tears loud, sobbing wails that I now recognized as a performance. She's always been jealous of me. She wants me to fail. Why do you hate me, Elara? Susan rushed to comfort her, wrapping her arms around Bella while shooting daggers at me. Look what you did. You're breaking her heart over a few dollars? You are so selfish, Elara. Absolutely heartless. Selfish, I tested the word. It used to cut me deep. Now it felt like armor. I looked at them, a father who saw me as an ATM, a mother who saw me as a servant, and a sister who saw me as a stepping stone. If being selfish means keeping the money I earned so I can actually eat this month, then yes, I said, grabbing my purse. I'm selfish. If you walk out that door with that money, don't expect dinner tonight, Robert yelled. I paused at the doorway, looking back at the tableau of dysfunction. Don't worry, I said, opening the door. I've lost my appetite. The music in the living room was too loud, vibrating against the floorboards. It was the same playlist from my past life, the same cheap champagne and plastic flutes, and the same crowd of my parents' friends pretending to like me. You look beautiful, babe, Liam whispered, sliding his arm around my waist. His palm was sweaty. I stiffened, pulling away slightly. Do I? I feel like I'm dressed for a funeral. Liam laughed nervously, adjusting his tie. You have such a dark sense of humor lately. Come on, relax. Tonight is special. Is it? I asked, my eyes darting over his shoulder. Bella was standing by the punch bowl, wearing a dress that was too short and a smile that was too wide. She caught Liam's eye and winked. It was subtle, just a flicker, but I saw the way Liam's hand tightened on his glass. They thought they were so clever. I need to make an announcement, Liam said, his voice shaking with excitement. He tapped a spoon against his glass. Clink, clink, clink. The room went quiet. My mother clasped her hands together, beaming. She knew. They all knew except the old version of me. Everyone, Liam announced, turning to me. Elara's been my rock for 3 years. She is patient, kind, and... She is my future. He dropped to one knee. The crowd gasped in delight. Bella took a sip of her drink, hiding a smirk behind the rim of the cup. Elara Carter, Liam said, opening the black velvet box to reveal a modest diamond ring. Will you do me the honor of becoming my wife? The silence stretched. Everyone waited for the tears, the nod, the yes. Instead, a low chuckle escaped my lips. Liam's smile faltered. Elara? Get up, Liam, I said, my voice cutting through the quiet room like a knife. You're wrinkling your pants. What? He blinked, confused. I'm proposing. I know, I said, looking down at him. But I think you're asking the wrong sister. A collective gasp swept through the room. My mother stepped forward, her face pale. Elara, what are you saying? I'm saying, I replied, turning my gaze to Bella, who had frozen mid-sip, but I don't want a husband who warms up my sister's bed when I'm at work. That's a lie, Bella shrieked, dropping her cup. Red punch splattered across the white rug. She's crazy. Liam, tell them she's crazy. Liam stood up, his face flushing a deep, guilty crimson. Elara, baby, you're tired. You don't know what you're talking about, don't I? I asked, stepping closer to him. Check your jacket pocket, Liam. The receipt for the bracelet Bella is wearing right now, isn't it still in there? Liam instinctively slapped a hand over his chest pocket. The movement was a confession in itself. Oh my God, someone whispered in the back. Keep the ring, I said, backing away toward the door. You'll need the money for a refund when she gets bored of you too. Elara, wait, Liam shouted, reaching for me. I dodged his hand and opened the front door. The cool night air hit my face, smelling of rain and freedom. Happy birthday, Bella, I called out over my shoulder without looking back. I got you exactly what you wanted. Carter, my office. Mr. Vance's voice boomed across the open plan office. I didn't flinch. In my past life, that tone made me tremble. Today, I just picked up a plain blue folder and walked calmly to his glass-walled room. He didn't look up from his phone. The glass lotus concept. I need the final renders. The board meeting is Monday. It's not ready, I lied smoothly. Vance finally looked at me, his eyes narrowing. It was supposed to be done yesterday. You know how important this is for the firm. For the firm? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Or for your promotion? He slammed his phone down. Watch your tone, Elara. You're a junior architect. You draw the lines, I sign the name. That's how the industry works. If you want a paycheck, you bring me those files by tomorrow morning. I understand, I said, forcing a polite smile. I'll see what I can do. I walked back to my desk, my heart cold. See what I can do? I was going to do nothing for him. The real blueprints for the glass lotus, the design that would redefine the city skyline, were encrypted on a private drive in my purse. The folder I gave him contained mediocre, safe designs that would get him laughed out of the boardroom. At 6 p.m., I clocked out and headed straight to The Grind, a small, dingy coffee shop downtown. Latte for table 4. Mia wiped her hands on her stained apron, looking exhausted. Her glasses were sliding down her nose, and she looked nothing like the tech mogul she would become in 5 years. Mia? I called out softly. She froze, blinking at me. Elara? Wow, I haven't seen you since graduation. What are you doing here? You look expensive. I need to talk to you, I said, ignoring the compliment. When is your break? Now, actually, she muttered, untying her apron. But I only have 10 minutes. We sat in a corner booth. I pulled out my laptop. I saw what you were coding on your lunch break last week, I said directly. The algorithm for real-time architectural rendering. Mia's face went pale. It's just a hobby. It's stupid. It doesn't even work right. It's genius, I corrected her. In 3 years, that code will be worth millions. But you need funding, and you need a partner who understands vision. Partner? She laughed nervously. Elara, look at me. I serve coffee. I can barely make rent. Not for long, I said, leaning in. I'm leaving my firm. I'm starting something new. Something that will destroy the old way of doing things. I need a chief technology officer. You want me? Her voice cracked. I remember how smart you are, Mia, even if everyone else ignored you. I said, my voice sincere. I have the designs, you have the tech. Together we can build an empire. Mia looked at me, really looked at me, searching for a trick. She saw none. I quit, she whispered, a slow smile spreading across her face. When do we start? Tonight, I smiled back. Welcome to the team. Elara, open this damn door. The wood shook as my father pounded on it. Inside, I calmly zipped up the large black suitcase on my bed. It contained everything that actually mattered. My laptop, my hard drive, and a few clothes. I unlocked the door. Robert stood there, his face purple with rage, waving a piece of mail in my face. You intercepted my bank statement, I stated, my voice devoid of emotion. $50,000. He screamed, spitting slightly. You've been hoarding 50 grand while I'm being chased by loan sharks? Do you have any idea what they'll do to me? I know exactly what happens when you gamble away the mortgage money. Dad, I've watched you do it for 10 years. He grabbed my arm, his fingers digging into my skin. Transfer it. Now, or don't bother sleeping under this roof tonight. Susan appeared behind him, wringing her hands, looking terrified not for me, but for the money. Just give it to him, Elara. Please, we can pay you back later. We're a family. Pay me back? I laughed, a harsh sound that made them both flinch. I shook off his grip. Like you paid back my tuition fund? Like you paid back the car loan I took out for you? You ungrateful little witch, Robert snarled, stepping closer to intimidate me. I put clothes on your back. I fed you. If you don't pay, you get out. You're dead to us. That works for me, I said, grabbing the handle of my suitcase. They both froze. The silence stretched, heavy and confused. What? Susan asked, her voice trembling. I said, that works for me. I reached into my purse and pulled out a thick manila envelope. I slapped it onto the hallway table with a loud thud. What is this? Robert asked, eyeing the legal seal. Severance papers, I explained, staring him down. It states that I have no financial liability for your debts, present or future. It formally removes me from your household. Sign it, don't sign it, I don't care. My lawyer already has the copy. You can't leave, Susan cried. Panic finally setting in as she realized the maid and the bank were walking out the door. Who will pay the electric bill next week? Who will cook dinner? I reached into my pocket and tossed my house key onto the pile of papers. It clattered loudly against the wood. I am not your ATM anymore, I said, my voice steady and cold. And I'm certainly not your maid. Good luck with the loan sharks. I pushed past them, the wheels of my suitcase rumbling against the hardwood floor. Robert stood there, mouth open, paralyzed by the shock of losing his safety net. I walked out the front door. The sky broke open, rain pouring down in sheets. It soaked my hair instantly, chilling me to the bone, but it felt like a baptism. I was washing away the filth of this house. A taxi was waiting at the curb. I threw my bag in and climbed inside. 30 minutes later, I stood in a dark, narrow hallway. The paint was peeling and the light flickered. Mia opened the door, wearing oversized pajamas. She looked at my soaked clothes and the single suitcase. You actually did it, she whispered, her eyes wide. I did, I said, shivering slightly. Is the offer for the couch still open? It's not much, Mia said, stepping aside to let me in. The heating is loud, the tap leaks, and the neighbors argue. I walked into the tiny, one-room apartment. It smelled like instant noodles and old books. It was cramped, dark, and poor. It's perfect, I smiled, tears finally pricking my eyes. It looks like freedom. Rent is due in 48 hours, Mia whispered, staring into her empty bowl of instant noodles. I know, I said, staring at my own bowl. The sodium-rich smell was starting to make me nauseous. It had been 3 weeks of this. Vance didn't just fire you, Elara, Mia said, her voice trembling. He blacklisted you. I checked the forums. He told every major firm in the city that you're unstable and difficult. Let him talk, I replied, forcing a calmness I didn't feel. He's scared. Scared? He's rich. And we have $12. Mia put her head in her hands. Maybe you should have just apologized? At least we were eating real food. I froze. A dark, treacherous thought crept in. She's right. It was easier to be a slave than to be starving. Then the memory hit me, the sterile beep of the heart monitor, the coldness of the hospital sheets, the empty room where I died waiting for them. No, I said sharply. I would rather starve as a free woman than eat as their dog. I grabbed my coat. I have work to do. At this hour? The bakery on 4th Street needs a redesign. It pays in cash. The rain was relentless, hammering against the glass front of the Daily Crumb. It was a small, dusty shop that smelled of yeast and despair. You're Phoenix? The owner, Mr. Henderson, asked skeptically, looking at my wet hair. That's me, I said, unrolling my blueprints on the flour-dusted counter. I've reconfigured the flow. If you move the display case here, the morning light hits the pastries. People buy with their eyes first, he grunted. Just make it cheap. The bell above the door jingled aggressively. A gust of wind blew in, followed by a small hunched figure. We're closed. Mr. Henderson shouted from the back. The woman didn't leave. She stood there, dripping wet, clutching a worn handbag. She looked frail, her gray hair plastered to her forehead. I just need to catch my breath, she rasped. Get out, I just mopped. Henderson yelled. Stop it, I snapped at him. I walked over to the woman, guided her to a stool. Ignore him. Here, take this. I took off my dry scarf and wrapped it around her shoulders. I poured tea from my thermos into a paper cup. I don't have money for that, she muttered, eyeing the cup. It's free, I said softly. Warm up. She sipped the tea, her sharp, dark eyes watching me over the rim. She didn't look grateful. She looked assessing. You're the architect? She asked, pointing a bony finger at my drawings. Freelancer, I corrected. Why the curved wall? She asked abruptly. Straight lines are cheaper. Straight lines are efficient, I replied, looking at the blueprint. But curves are welcoming. This bakery is small. It shouldn't feel like a box. It should feel like a hug. The woman lowered her cup. For a moment, the air in the room felt heavy, charged. A hug, she repeated, a strange smile touching her lips. Most people in your tray only care about the steel. The steel is just the skeleton, I said, returning to my work. The feeling is the soul. You have a name, girl? Phoenix, I said without looking up. Phoenix, she mused, standing up and adjusting her coat. Rising from the ashes. How fitting. She left a $5 bill on the counter, more than the tea was worth, and walked back into the storm. I didn't know it then, but I had just served tea to the woman who owned half the city. You're late, the voice rasped. I stood frozen in the lobby of Sterling Tower. The woman from the bakery wasn't wearing a soaked coat today. She was draped in a tailored Chanel suit, sitting on a velvet sofa like a queen on her throne. Grandma Rose? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. You own this building? I own the block, she corrected, standing up with surprising agility. And my name is Rose Sterling. Come, the sharks are waiting. My stomach did a flip. Sterling Estates was the biggest developer in the country, and I was about to pitch to them. As we entered the boardroom, the laughter stopped instantly. Sitting at the long mahogany table were the two men I hated most in this world, Mr. Vance and Liam. Elara? Liam stood up, looking me up and down with a sneer. What are you doing here? Did you get a job delivering lunch? Sit down, Liam, I said, walking past him to the head of the table. Mr. Vance slammed his hand on the table. Miss Sterling, this is a mistake. This girl's a fired junior assistant. She was blacklisted for incompetence. Rose ignored him, taking her seat. I invited her. Proceed with your pitch, Vance. You have 5 minutes. Vance smirked, confident. He projected a rendering on the screen. It was a tall steel box. Efficient, cost-effective, standard luxury, he boasted. We call it the Spire. It looks like a prison for rich people, Rose muttered. She turned to me. Your turn, Phoenix. I stepped forward. My hands were shaking, but my voice was steady. I didn't use a projector. I placed a physical model on the table and pulled off the cloth. The glass lotus, I announced. The room went silent. The design was organic, curving upward like a blooming flower. It used light and solar glass to power itself. It was the design Vance had tried to steal and my past life now perfected. It breathes, I explained, pointing to the ventilation structure. It's not just a hotel. It's a living ecosystem. Vance's face turned pale. That's impossible to build. The structural load is supported by the central core, I interrupted, tossing a technical packet onto the table. The math is on page 4. Rose studied the model for a long, agonizing minute. Then she smiled a terrifying wolfish smile. Vance, she said softly. Get out. Excuse me? Vance sputtered. You're fired, she clarified, and take your lapdog, Liam, with you. This design is the future. Yours is the past. Liam looked at me stunned. Elara, wait, goodbye, Liam, I said without looking at him. As security escorted them out, a door in the back opened. A young man walked in. He was tall with sharp features and eyes that were intensely focused. He didn't look at the model. He looked straight at me. This is my grandson, Caleb, Rose said. He handles my contracts. Caleb placed a document in front of me. The terms are aggressive, he said, his voice deep and calm. But so is your design. I can handle aggressive, I replied, signing my name. Caleb watched me sign, a flicker of respect in his dark eyes. I believe you can. You're staring at that blueprint like it insulted you, Caleb said, his deep voice breaking my concentration. I blinked, rubbing my temples. The structural integrity on the west wing is questionable. If we want the cantilever, we need stronger steel. We have the steel, Caleb replied, placing a steaming cup of coffee on my glass desk, and we have the budget. You're one of the wealthiest women in the city, Elara, remember? I leaned back in my leather chair, looking around my corner office. 2 years ago, I was renovating a bakery for spare cash. Now, Phoenix Architecture was the firm everyone wanted to hire. I wore Italian silk, drove a sports car, and answered to no one. Old habits, I murmured, taking the coffee. I still feel like I have to fight for every inch. Caleb sat on the edge of my desk, crossing his arms. He was always close, always watching. You've won the fight. The real question is, are you enjoying the victory? I'm enjoying the silence, I said honestly. The intercom buzzed. It was Mia, my VP of operations. She wasn't the shy girl from the coffee shop anymore. She was sharp, efficient, and loyal. Elara, the private investigator, sent the monthly update, Mia said through the speaker. Caleb's expression darkened. You're still tracking them? I like to keep an eye on my past, I said, tapping the screen to open the file. Just to make sure it stays dead. I scanned the report. A cold, satisfied smile touched my lips. Read it to me, Caleb demanded softly. Bella was dropped by her modeling agency, I read aloud. Breach of contract. Apparently she showed up to a shoot hungover and threw a tantrum when they didn't have her preferred water brand. Classic, Caleb muttered. And Liam, I paused, looking at the photos attached. He looked gaunt, his suit ill-fitting. He's drowning. He took out a second mortgage to pay off my father's gambling debts. Now the bank is foreclosing on the house. They're losing the house? Caleb asked, raising an eyebrow. That's significant. It's justice, I corrected. They drained me dry for years. Without my blood to feed on, they're starving. Do you feel bad? He asked, studying my face for any crack in the armor. I looked at the photos of my parents looking old and miserable, yelling at each other on the lawn. I didn't push them, I said, closing the file. I didn't make Bella lazy or my father a gambler. I just removed the safety net. Gravity did the rest. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the glittering city skyline. Let them fall, Caleb, I whispered. I'm busy flying. You look dangerous in that dress, Caleb whispered, his breath warm against my ear. His hand rested steadily on the small of my back, a grounding weight amidst the chaos of the gala. I smoothed the silk of my crimson gown. Dangerous is good for business, Caleb. To the glass lotus, he said, raising his glass. To the future, I replied. Crash. The sound of a velvet rope stanchion hitting the marble floor shattered the elegant atmosphere. The string quartet stopped playing. Get your hands off me. Do you know who I am? A shrill voice screamed from the entrance. My stomach turned. I knew that voice. Elara. The crowd parted. Standing at the entrance, wrestling with two large security guards, was my past. My mother's hair was frizzy, her coat threadbare. My father looked red-faced and bloated. Bella was behind them, wearing a dress that looked 10 years out of style, her eyes scanning the room with manic desperation. Is that? Caleb stiffened beside me. Let them through, I called out, my voice cutting through the murmurs. The guards stepped back. My parents straightened their clothes, mistaking my command for submission. They marched toward me, their eyes locking onto the diamond necklace around my throat. Look at you, Susan spat, pointing a shaking finger at me. Prancing around like a queen while your family loses everything. We saw the news, Robert barked, stepping too close. You own this place, you have millions, and you let the bank take our house? Cameras flashed blindly. The press was eating it up. Elara, tell them, Bella whined, grabbing my arm. I pulled away as if she were contagious. Tell them to give us a suite. I have nowhere to sleep tonight. You ungrateful little wretch, Robert shouted, his voice echoing off the high ceilings. We raised you, we fed you, and this is how you repay us? By abandoning us to starve? The room was deadly silent. Hundreds of the city's elite were watching. I felt Caleb step forward to defend me, but I put a hand on his chest to stop him. I looked at Robert, then at Susan, and finally at Bella. I didn't look angry. I didn't look sad. I looked bored. I'm sorry, I said, my voice calm and loud enough for every reporter to hear. Who are you? Susan's jaw dropped. What? Stop playing games, Elara. We are your parents. My parents? I tilted my head, feigning confusion. I'm afraid you're mistaken. I don't have a family. They died a long time ago. You liar. Bella shrieked, lunging for me. You can't do this. Security, I said, turning my back on them to face Caleb. Please remove these strangers. They're upsetting the guests. Elara, no, you owe us. Robert screamed as the guards seized them. I didn't look back. I picked up my champagne glass. Shall we dance? I asked Caleb. We shall. He grinned, leading me onto the floor as their screams faded into the night. Miss Carter, the stock dropped 4 points in the last hour. Mia stood in my doorway, clutching her tablet like a shield. Her face was pale. Show me, I commanded, though my stomach churned. She hesitated, then turned the screen. A video of Bella played. She was crying, wearing no makeup and ragged clothes. I just wanted to help her, Bella sobbed on screen. I drew those designs when we were kids. Elara stole my sketchbook. And now she won't even help pay for Dad's heart medication. We're sleeping in a motel. Heart medication? I scoffed, feeling the bile rise. He spends his money on horses, not pills. The comments are bad, Elara, Nia whispered. Hashtag boycott Phoenix is trending. The client for the Marina project just put us on hold. The phone on my desk buzzed again. It was Mr. Sato, our biggest investor. I let it ring. I walked to the window, my breath hitching. It felt like the hospital room again. The walls were closing in. Had I built this empire on sand? Was it all going to wash away just because Bella could cry on cue? I'm going to lose it, I whispered to the glass, my reflection looking small and terrified. I'm going to lose everything again. Only if you let them win, a deep voice said. Caleb walked in, closing the door firmly behind him. He didn't look worried. He looked furious. They're canceling contracts, Caleb, I said, my voice trembling. The public loves a victim. I can't fight tears with architecture. Then stop acting like the villain, he said, walking over to me. He grabbed my shoulders, forcing me to look at him. You aren't the girl who died in that hospital bed, Elara. You're the woman who built this tower. Fight back. How? It's my word against hers. She's my sister. People believe family. Is it just your word? Caleb raised an eyebrow. You told me once that you never delete anything. My eyes widened. The panic in my chest halted, replaced by a sudden clarity. The cloud, I breathed. What? I have the backups, I said, the fear rapidly replaced by cold calculation. I have the emails from Vance admitting he stole my work 5 years ago. I have the text from Bella asking for drug money. I have the voicemails of my father threatening to break my legs if I didn't pay his bookie. Do you have them here? Caleb asked. I rushed to my desk, unlocked the biometric safe, and pulled out a small black hard drive. It was cold in my hand. Everything, I said, gripping the drive tight. Every lie they ever told is in this box. Mia, Caleb called out without looking away from me. Mia poked her head in, looking anxious. Yes? Book a press conference, I said, a cruel smile finally touching my lips. And tell the legal team to bring a high-resolution projector. What are we doing? Mia asked. We're going to the movies, I replied. Miss Carter, Miss Carter. Is it true you let your parents sleep in a car? Did you steal the glass lotus design from your sister? The questions were like daggers thrown from every direction of the crowded hotel ballroom. I sat alone at the long table, my hands folded calmly on the white tablecloth. Quiet, I said into the microphone. It wasn't a shout, but the feedback loop silenced the room. You have heard my sister's story, I continued, looking directly into the camera lens. Now I would like you to hear the truth. Please listen, I signaled Mia. The speakers overhead crackled, and then my father's voice filled the room loud, angry, and unmistakable. I don't care if you're sick. Get up and go to work. If you don't transfer that $5,000 by noon, the loan sharks are coming for my thumbs. Do you hear me, you useless girl? The room went deathly still. A reporter in the front row lowered his notepad. That, I explained, was recorded 3 years ago, the day I was hospitalized for exhaustion. But the money? A woman from the City Gazette asked hesitantly. Bella said you cut them off. Slide 2, I commanded. The screen behind me lit up with a spreadsheet. These are bank transfers totaling $200,000 over 5 years. Mortgage payments, Bella's tuition, my father's gambling debts. I didn't cut them off until they tried to bleed me dry. And the designs? A skeptical voice called out from the back. Mr. Vance backed Bella's claim. Of course he did, I said with a dry smile. Slide 3. 2 images appeared. One was Bella's crude sketch, dated last week. The other was a digital file of the glass lotus. Look at the metadata, I pointed out. Created August 14, 2015. Author Elara Carter. Mr. Vance hadn't even seen the project until 2017. Murmurs broke out. Phones started pinging rapidly throughout the room. Oh my God, the reporter in the front row said, looking at his phone. The live stream comments? Everyone is turning on them. They're calling your father a monster. Breaking news. Another journalist shouted, holding up a tablet. The architecture board just released a statement. Mr. Vance has been terminated effective immediately pending a fraud investigation. And Bella? I asked, though I already knew the answer. Her agency just dropped her. The woman from the Gazette confirmed, looking at me with new respect. They cited morality clauses. I stood up. The cameras flashed again, but this time they weren't predatory. They were celebratory. Miss Carter. How do you feel? They shouted. Do you have a message for your family? I paused at the edge of the stage. I thought about the girl who died alone, heartbroken and used. No, I said softly, more to myself than to them. I have nothing left to say to them. I walked off the stage. I expected to feel a surge of joy, a rush of victory. Instead, I just felt light. The heavy stone that had been sitting on my chest for 2 lifetimes was finally gone. Mia met me behind the curtain, her eyes shining. You did it. We did it, I corrected her, taking a deep breath. Let's go home. The Tokyo contract is signed, Mia said, dropping a heavy file onto my desk. That makes 3 continents in 6 months. We aren't just a firm anymore, Elara. We're a global conglomerate. I signed the final page without looking up. And the London bid? Secured, Mia grinned. You're officially the most sought-after architect in the world. Now please, go home. You've been here since dawn. I'll rest when the Paris office opens, I murmured, reaching for another blueprint. No, you'll rest now, a deep voice interrupted. Caleb stood in the doorway, twirling a master key card in his fingers. He wasn't wearing his usual sharp suit. He was in a casual button-down, looking relaxed in a way that made my heart skip a beat. I have deadlines, Caleb, I protested, though I was already capping my pen. The deadlines can wait, he said, walking over and pulling me out of my chair. Come with me. I want to show you something. The elevator opened directly onto the rooftop of the Glass Lotus. The wind whipped my hair across my face, carrying the sounds of the city far below. It was a sea of lights, beautiful and chaotic, but up here it was quiet. Why are we here? I asked, walking to the edge. Look down, Caleb said, standing beside me. 5 years ago, you were designing bathroom renovations for cash. Now you built the skyline. It feels surreal, I admitted, shivering slightly in the cool air. Caleb immediately took off his jacket and draped it over my shoulders. It smelled like sandalwood and safety. I didn't bring you up here to talk about real estate, he said softly. I turned to face him. The city lights reflected in his dark eyes. Then why? Because you finally stopped running, he replied. You defeated them, Elara. The war is over. You can put down the sword. I don't know how to be anything but a soldier, I whispered, looking away. I'm afraid that if I stop fighting, I'll lose everything again. You won't lose me, he said. The certainty in his voice made me look back at him. You're my business partner, Caleb. Of course I won't lose you. Is that all I am? He asked, stepping closer. Because for me, it was never about the business. I didn't invest in Phoenix architecture. I invested in you. I'm difficult, I warned him, my voice trembling. I'm damaged. I watched you stand up to your family when you had nothing in your pocket but anger, Caleb said, reaching out to cut my face. I fell in love with you then, not the CEO, the survivor. I love your strength, Elara. I love that you rebuilt yourself from ashes. I felt the walls around my heart crumble. I thought about my blood relatives who only wanted to take, and then I looked at the man standing before me who only wanted to give. I thought of Mia down in the office and Grandma Rose, who gave me a chance. I built more than a company, didn't I? I realized aloud. You built a family, Caleb confirmed. A real one, I think, I started, leaning into his touch. I think I'm ready to stop fighting. Good, he whispered. He lowered his head. When his lips met mine, it wasn't explosive or dramatic. It was steady. It was warm. It felt like the final piece of a blueprint falling into place. Under the starlight, for the first time in 2 lifetimes, I wasn't plotting my next move. I was just happy. I rolled the window down just an inch. The air smelled like cut grass and desperation. You said you had a system. Susan screamed, throwing a plastic bag onto the porch. I almost won. Robert yelled back, his face a blotchy red. The horse was in the lead. It's rigged, Susan. The whole world is rigged against me. We have to be out by Friday, Robert. Where are we going to go? Ask your favorite daughter, he spat. Ask Bella. Oh wait, you can't. Because she stole my watch and ran off with that mechanic. She didn't steal it. Susan sobbed, collapsing onto the peeling porch swing. She's finding herself. I watched them for a moment longer. The bright orange foreclosure sign flapped in the wind. In my past life, this scene would have broken me. I would have drained my savings to fix their mess. Now, it was just noise. Sad, I whispered to the empty car, not I'm sad, just... The situation was sad. I pressed the button to roll up the window, silencing their arguments. I didn't hate them anymore. Hate requires energy. I just felt indifference. That was the true victory. I shifted the car into drive. I didn't look in the rearview mirror. The drive to the coast cleared my head. The cramped suburbs gave way to the open road and the smell of salt water. I pulled up to the iron gates of my estate. "Good evening, Miss Carter," the intercom buzzed. "Good evening," I replied. "Open the gates, please." The heavy irons swung open. My home stood on the cliffside, a testament to everything I had built. It was white stone and glass, open and free. I walked inside, the heels of my shoes clicking on the marble. I went straight to my private office. The ocean view filled the room, the waves crashing rhythmically below. I sat at my mahogany desk and pulled out the worn leather journal from the top drawer. It contained 5 years of secrets, plans, and fears. I picked up my fountain pen. I needed to finish this story. "The girl who sought approval is dead," I wrote, the ink dark and permanent. "The woman who built a kingdom lives." I closed the book with a soft thud. It was done. "Elara?" I looked up. Caleb was leaning against the doorframe, a warm smile playing on his lips. "Are you coming?" "Dinner is ready. Grandma Rose is arguing with Mia about the best wine pairing." "I'm coming," I said, standing up. "Is everything okay?" he asked, glancing at the closed book. I touched the cover one last time, then turned to him. "Everything is perfect," I said. I walked toward him, toward the laughter downstairs, and toward the bright future I had created with my own hands.